Okay, so what I have here are two pieces of glass, a clear and then this kind of a mint colored glass. I'm going to do a pour on top of the clear, and then I've made the green piece of glass just slightly larger so it will create like an edge around it. So what I'm going to do is mix up colors that would coordinate with that glass. So our 355 mint julep, 343 sapphire blue, 357 teal, and some white, 302 glacier white. So I'm going to set these aside, and then I'm going to show you how we do the mixing. So you'll need some little cups to mix your colors in, making sure there's nothing in these. These are like 2 and 4 ounce size, so it's just kind of whatever you've got available. Okay. All right, so it's a good idea. I'm also going to be using the layering mix that we carry. This happens to be a 16 ounce or a pint bottle, and then we do have it in the 8 ounce also. Now you can mix with your regular GM 300, and I'm not sure I've got a bottle. Here's the 8 ounce and the 2 ounce of that. Okay, you can mix with them and then add the layering mix if you want for a little bit more fluid of a look. I personally like to mix it just with the layering mix, and then by adding some water, I can create some cells within that. So start by mixing, try to mix equal parts as much as you can. I've lost my little palette knife. All right, so I'm going to get about 2 teaspoons of the white, because I will definitely need more of it. Let me break that up. It's been sitting there a while. Okay, and I might even need more than that, but we'll start with that. I've got some small pieces of glass, so I'm going to leave one of these spoons for my color, and then I'm going to use a separate spoon for my layering mix. Okay, and here's the 8 ounce bottle, so 8 and a 16. Okay, it does separate in the bottle. You can put some little marbles or little pebbles of glass in the bottom of it if you want to keep that agitated when you do shake it. So I'm going to go equal parts. And like I said, I'm going to keep one of these spoons for just my layering mix. Okay. All right, so then you'll want to stir that up. So this is a little thinner than normal. Okay, I'm going to actually add some more white to this. So 3 teaspoons of white. And look what I just did. I just used my spoon that I had for my layering mix. So I'll just rinse it. Make sure you really get all the chunks mixed up. I'm just tilting it so that I can press my tool against the edge of the container. Now, before I pour, I'm going to add some water to these, but right now I'm just going to mix these up. Okay, just so you can see it being mixed in front of you. Okay, so let's get this one loosened up. This is a little more than, it's kind of a heaping teaspoon, so we're going to say like a teaspoon and a half. This is the mint julep. So I'm only going to go like 1 teaspoon. Of the layering mix, and we'll check the consistency. See, that one's a lot thicker, so we definitely need more in it as far as the layering mix, because it needs to be fluid so you can pour it. Okay. All right. I'll keep that one over there. All right, so we'll set that one aside. The next one, let's do 43 Sapphire. I'll loosen up the powders. Keep that tool clean. And that's probably a little over a teaspoon. It was kind of heaping there. Okay. And then we'll use this one. We'll do 1 teaspoon to start with and check it. And that looks like, see, each color is a little bit different depending on the color, the different minerals that are in it. Some may thicken, thin. Okay. May cause the products to be thicker or thinner. All right, so then we got 57. Just make sure your cups are clean. And this is kind of a jade type of a color. I usually say don't mix more than 5 colors at a time for 1 piece. It makes it too busy, and you just end up losing those colors. So we're going to start again. That was a little heaping teaspoon. I'm going to start with a teaspoon of the layering mix. And that's not too bad. I think it'll be all right once I add a little bit of water to it. Okay, so we've got those 4 colors mixed up. And then what I'm going to do is just, I'll use this one, maybe a half a teaspoon, maybe not even quite that much, in each one, and then give it a good stir. The water helps create cells if you're going to be using the torch, which we are. All right, so I've got those mixed up. Okay. All right, let's get all this out of the way because I'm going to create an area that I can pour. So what I've got here is just a not metal, it's like a foil pan. You can get them from the dollar store, Amazon, different places. They're just real cheap, like a tin foil type deal. All right, so then you need to have something fairly, you need to build your piece up on top of where you're going to pour with, I need something that's got some weight to it. Okay, so there's a jar, and then we're going to put our glass on there. I know that's hard to see, but you can see the corners of it. Okay. All right, so this is a torch. It's like a little butane torch that you get from Amazon. It's like a creme brulee. Not sure I'm saying that right. And then you can buy both of these on Amazon. And then what we've got here is the fuel for it. So there's a little nozzle there, and on the bottom of your torch, you would go outside to do this. Okay, you would press down in there, and it basically fills it by squirting it into there. That's the best way to say it. Okay, so you'll know if it doesn't create a flame. Just make sure you don't have anything near you, like paper towels or anything that would be flammable, which everything pretty much is. Just, you wouldn't want to put one of these plastic cups underneath it, because that, if you got the torch near it, would catch fire quicker than anything else. Okay, I'm going to kind of move stuff back. All right, so I always start with the light color and work to the dark. Okay, and this is just a pour, a straight pour. It's not a dirty pour. Dirty is where you take one container and you add, and we'll do one of those later. Okay, this is just, I'm going to start in the middle here and just kind of add some white. And then my mint julep. Let's make sure that's still mixed up. You can cross over. I'm going to go ahead and dump most of this on there. And then here's that teal color, 357. So you can like fill in these spots that you didn't get before. Create stripes. Okay, I'm just going to kind of swish that to stir it up a little bit. And I've got more than enough on this piece as far as enough product. Okay, now the other thing to think about when you're doing this is to always have like another scrap or another piece that you may want the same colors on, because when you start tipping and turning, you may want something else underneath it to catch those items. So I'm just going to put one here that I've got handy just in case I need it. So you're going to just tilt it and move it around until you get a look that you want. And if you move it slow enough, it'll creep towards the edge. You can see it coming down on this corner on my right hand side. And then let's go down. Just give it time. See, it's coming over here to the edge. And I'll show you another little trick once we get down there. Okay, so you got to take your time. Let it migrate out to the very edge. I'm going to turn this so you can. Okay, so the white's coming out to the edge. All right, that looks good. All right, so now we just need to go back down here and get this one, and hopefully we can get it. Now, it doesn't seem to be wanting to go over there, so a thing you can do is kind of touch to the side or kind of touch on the top, and that lets it go out. So it just really depends on how much you want left on there, you want off. Like I said, I may dump some off on this one to get a really cool look going back and forth. All right. I kind of like the way that looks right there. So I'm going to set it aside, wipe off my hands, and then with what I've got here, I can add to it. So this is more of a, it would be more closer to a dirty pour. You can also pick some up off of your foil or whatever you're working on top of. And if you've got those little holes, I'm just going to tap to make them go together so that I have something that will move all at the same time. So let's put a little more white and see if we can put it on top here. And maybe a little blue. Okay. And you just have to go back and forth. I want to be careful I don't get it on top of my other piece. But sometimes you got to tap it to get it out to the edges. You can even take your tool, you know, and move things around if you see something, kind of break it up a little bit. Okay, so let's get it over here on this edge. And we need to get it on that edge without it. Okay, so I'm going to end up working on both of these at the same time when I get the torch going in just a second. But I want to show you one other thing also. And if you've got a whole lot of excess and you want to get rid of it, just let it run off. And you can actually let those dry and break those up. And they make really cool pieces that you can lay on, like jewelry pieces. Okay, so I'm going to set this down on that. I think you can see both of those. Clean myself a little bit here. Let's get another paper. Okay, so we definitely want to move these cups back out of the way because we don't want to catch those on fire, that's for sure. Okay, let me see if I can get this back over here. All right. There is, and I've not used this before. This is for alcohol ink. It's a blower. So a lot of people will use a straw, but if you hyperventilate and the straw's not your thing, what I was thinking is I could just push some of that color to create different spots, or maybe create a flower petal. So this is the first time I've used this, so I didn't know, you know, I just knew it would be a cool tool. Kind of gives you a splat kind of a look there where you do it. Okay, all right, that's all I'm going to do on that. So now I'm going to do the torch. So you have a controller here that increases the length of the fire. You don't need it up very much. Mine is just barely above the lowest. And then you have your open and close, so you want to make sure it's turned to the open so that it will allow the butane, and then you push on the back end of this a couple of times until the fire. So I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. So see, you can see the flame there, I think. All right. So you have to keep it pushed in, and then I'm going to just kind of in a circular motion go over an area. You don't want to stay in an area too long. I'm going to use my other finger. Hold on. Oops, it pushed back. Okay. And sometimes it's going to be hard to see, but what it's doing is drawing up or drying some of the area so it pulls It makes you think it's pulling, but what it's doing is drawing up and drying certain areas. I find it easier to stand, so I'm going to stand up so I can see over it. Okay, so it'll see there where it pulls that white into the green, and it could create little tiny cells, we call it. But don't get too close to it, because what will happen is you'll scorch the glass paint, and it'll turn black because you're drying it too fast, so you're basically burning it. But what this is doing is evaporating the water, the liquid, out of it and creating additional patterns. And you just have to keep going over it till you get something you like, because it'll keep pulling. And see, if I do the circular motion, it kind of creates a circle. I'm going to go over here and do some real quick on this one. Okay, so you can do as much as you want. There's other things you can add to this to create cells also, but it is just another way to help with patterns. But if you like the way it looks before this, then you don't have to do this. Or if you don't have a torch, you don't have to. You can use a heat gun also, but be careful with that too. If you get too close to the glass, the enamels, the water, the mixture, it could scorch it. I'm having a problem with that word today. But you can kind of, if I stay too long in a place, see there's cells coming up in that green over the top of the other green, the teal. So it's not going to happen real quick like it does with the acrylic ones. This is completely different. So just take your time, and you can feel it getting warm, back here on your hand. That's why I constantly move it, because the heat bounces back at you. And I think I like the circles. I mean, you could go back and forth, but there again, whichever direction you go, the lines are going to be created. Do you see those two lines there? So I like the circle to give it a little more of an organic type look to it. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with these. And you can do these as part sheets and then cut them up and put them in other things, or just really quick little soap dishes, ring dishes. I mean, there's so much that you can do with this. Okay, guys, I think I'm done with that one. Just be careful you do not touch this area of your torch when you're done, because that's extremely hot. Don't lay it down. Put it on the foil. Stand it up somewhere that, if it falls over, it's not going to catch something on fire. So please be safe with those. These are like $14 on Amazon. I don't remember how much the butane is, but it's not much at all, and it lasts forever. Okay. All right. So we will let these dry, and then what happens is you will come around and clean your edges, because whatever you see with color, that's going to be there, and it's going to show. Let me set that down. But can you see how cool that will look on top of that green? So I'm just on top of clear. So some of that green is going to come through where it's lighter in other areas, and then it'll give it a frame. You can run your hand, see that, along the bottom to remove a lot of excess. You will need to remove that. Now, because this has layering mix in it, you cannot cap it. It has to be fired first, and then you can come back and cap. Okay? Otherwise, you'll get big bubbles in your piece. Now, you can get away with sifting this on that first firing. It doesn't have the high sheen that your glass does. It's a little bit less of a sheen, but it's just really personal preference whether you think you need to sift over it. What I would do is fire it, look at it. If you're okay with it, then you don't have to worry about that. And if you want a higher shine, then you could sift over the top of that. Okay. All right. So okay, so these are almost dry, and what I want to show you is, see on the edges how you've got some of the color, it's on the back. So if you take, and I don't, well, here's almost a full one. You know those Mr. Clean magic erasers that you can get? You can get the cheaper version on Amazon, a whole bunch of them for hardly anything. Just wet that, and it will help take off stickers on your glass, and it removes this excess pour because the layering mix gets hard as a brick when it's dry, so it's really hard to get off of there. So you can use one of these, and it really just makes it so much easier to do to get it off of there. Let me rinse it. Okay, then I would clean that, and then same thing to your side. You can just set it along the side and just run it up and down, and it cleans it just slicker than all get out. Really, really easy. So do that to all your sides, and then you'll be ready to fire once it's completely dry. Don't force. I mean, you can fan dry it, but don't fire it until it's completely dry. If the glass feels cool to the touch, then that means it's not dry. Okay, because it's still wet and damp underneath, whether you can see that or not. Okay, so this one still has a little ways to go, but it's dry enough. Its course is on clear, but you can see all of those drips because I took my finger and went underneath it. I'm going to go to that bigger piece, dampen it, and you can see how quickly that cleans up. But it's great on stickers that come on your glass. Boy, it'll take that residue off and nothing flat. So keep that in mind, especially like labels on wine bottles. And I don't know about you, but there's the labels that are on the glass. Sometimes it's harder than heck to get those off of there, and this definitely makes it so much easier. Now I'll come back and I'll clean that with vinegar again, but at least I've got that residue off of it. And then just clean your edges. I'll wet that again. Bad part is the glass, of course, being sharp, does start to cut through the sponge, so be careful of that. And just clean it all the way around. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you saw that being done. Sometimes it's the little things that we forget to tell you and just assume that you know. So I'm trying to show you each step that I go through. You can see how easy it is, but you can see also how it ends up tearing up the sponge. So buy you that big package. I don't know, I don't remember, I bought it so long ago, but there's tons of them, like I want to say 30 or more, and they're really dirt cheap on Amazon. Just type in Mr. Clean, and I'm sure it'll come up with the, if you don't have that available, you can take your tool and you can scratch it off. You can see how hard that is after that layering mix. That's the whole thing. It's the key word, layering, because you can use it and then you can layer and do things on top of it. So it is pretty tough. Okay. All right. Like I said, I'll clean the back of that later. So let's look at this real quick and show you that this one is going to sit on there just with a little bit of an edge showing, and I think that'll look really nice when it's full fused. It'll give it a frame around the edge. Okay, and the other one, I'm not sure what I'm going to put this one on. It's a white, so I could even find a transparent and do that. Here would be an example. This is not the piece that fits it, but if you had a transparent, you know, that would look really, really pretty too. Something that would match your glass, your enamels. Okay. Okay, so for this one, I am going to use a piece of clear and a piece of black. It has a very small frame around it, and I'm just going to stick with some earth tone colors on it. Okay, so I've got my containers underneath so it stands up above. Now I'm going to mix my colors up. So what I'm going to use is 386 burnt sienna, burnt umber 380. I'm going to use some ivory 307. I might put a little bit of black in there and maybe a little bit of 381. I could also put in some of the, since I've got black on the background, I may take out the black and let's add some gold sparkle to it. Or maybe even copper would look good with the browns. I think I like the copper sparkle. Okay, so I'm going to mix these colors up and I'll be right back. Here we go. Light to dark, ivory, nutmeg, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and some copper sparkle. And this is only like a 5 by 5 glass piece. So it's not very big at all. I didn't mix up as much as I did in the last one. So maybe we want some of that here. See how you can just pour within what you've got. I'm going to kind of make sure I've got enough of that mixed up well. And it could be right over the top. Or you can come in and do an abstract type design. All right, now we're going to add some of that sparkle. I think I want it really running throughout the piece. Okay. I like the idea of the copper running through that. Now, the one thing I didn't do is I didn't get me another piece of glass to put beside. Remember, you can dab the edges to get that to fill in. And you can always pick it up off of your tray if you have clean, you know, where you're not getting into something else that's already dry. Okay, so I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of smaller glass. I really haven't even cleaned these. Stuff them off real quick. Let's put this guy here. And because I can cut these up and make jewelry later. Okay, so we need to get over to that corner. We also need to get there. And then I want to go back this direction. Maybe a little bit that way. All right, remember before we used that blower, so I can just squirt and create patterns. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of the dark. So when you add it in like this, of course you could even leave it splattered if you like that look. And it's hard to see that you've got multiple colors on there, but see how I can disperse those and really give it some interest. Let's put a little more of the ivory in there. And sometimes the copper will take over because you can't see it until it's fired, that you've got, you know, the burnt sienna and the different colors on there. So, oops, I knocked that one over, didn't I? Okay, let's do this. Let's see if I can get some more of the copper. And we have a little bit more of the burnt sienna left. Okay. I'm just going to kind of roll those around. And you could even leave some of the black showing and create, you know, an actual design like this, and then use that as part of your design of your piece. You don't have to have it completely covered. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to just leave that one. I've got a little bit of excess product on here, so I am going to drain some of that off. And then we'll just leave that. And this one I'll probably just wipe off. There's not enough of it there to really do anything. Okay, so let's you could use a straw, remember, if you don't have something like this. I don't think I've got enough in there. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's go back to our torch. Remember, it's going to move some of that around also. You want to stay above it. Don't get too close or you end up scorching the paint and drying it too fast. So it almost wants to catch on fire. So you want to be careful about that. Now watch this edge, what I'm doing. Let me move this out of the way. So when I aim the torch there, it's going to pull that copper into the ivory mix that's there in the 81. See how that just brings it around? So the torch does add a little bit because it can change what you're looking at. And even though I left some of those spots, when I do this, it moves the color around. It's crazy. See how it just moved all that dark? And some of it may not even show up until it's fired exactly where it is. See how that one is pulling some of the white that's from underneath, or the ivory that's underneath. So it's pretty fascinating what you can do with it. You just have to really, you know, your imagination is your limitation as far as looking at it and deciding, you know, do I want something different or does that look okay? Remember that it's hot. Set it down on a piece of glass somewhere that it's not going to fall and touch anything that could start a fire. Okay. All right. So I will let these dry and then I'll come back. So, hi everyone. Okay, we have quite a few on. So, hi everyone. I'm Paula McCoy, owner of Colors for Earth. So tonight, what I'm going to do, I put out some pictures of some enamel pours, and I'm going to show you how to create those. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my overhead camera, and we're going to get started. Okay. Okay. Now, when I did. Okay. So, in just a second, you should be seeing my overhead camera. I want to know if you can still hear me before I get started. So Jenny or Kim, somebody, when you see the paper with the Facebook information on it, tell me if you can hear me okay. Okay, so, hey Den, hey Steven. Oh, you're warm up in Michigan. Yeah, believe it or not, it's 82 here today, and we were a 0 a week ago. This is just absolutely insane. So, okay. So can everybody hear me okay with this camera? So Cindy Chen, you say yep. So I'm assuming you can still hear me. So if at any point in time, hey Julie Sofer, let me know if you don't hear me and I'll switch to a different mic, okay? Oh, bless you. Sorry, that was my husband. So what I've got here is a piece of paper just telling you what our website is. And if you have any, because I keep forgetting to say this, if you have bought or purchased any of our Colors for Earth enamels, we have a closed or private Facebook group, which is CFE, standing for Colors for Earth, Glass Color Artists. So please ask to join that group. And I'm doing these lives on my personal page so I can reach all of you so that you know that that page is out there as a resource for you. That page, we only talk about Colors for Earth enamels and different uses of them, but it's a good resource for troubleshooting issues or finding new ideas. Everybody's really great about answering questions. Okay. You can also find me on YouTube. Just search for my name and it will have the Colors for Earth logo there. And be sure and subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notifications if I go live on YouTube or if I have any new videos that I upload. That way you'll get notifications of those, okay? All right, guys, I'm going to move this out of the way and get started. I had a request from a couple of people, asked me if I were going to have kits available for doing pours. So what we've done is we've made a couple of kits up, okay? And here they are. My husband, if he hasn't already, he will put the link to these kits in the chat, okay, on the Colors for Earth site. If you just search for pour in the search bar, you will find it's Enamel Pour Kit 1 and 2. We also have another pour kit out there that Janine Stillman, one of our teachers, created for her Vegas teaching events. And that one is available also, and I believe I put it on sale. So you can see that both of these average $136, but they're on sale at $108, $109. So you're getting like 4 ounces of the white in both, and then I've chose a color, the 2 ounce of the black, and then more of your neutral tones here. And then this has just got some variation of colors that I'm going to use in some things tonight. You get a large medium, you get a 8 ounce of your layering mix and some jars to get started because you will need some type of a container when you mix up your enamels for the pours. Okay? Okay. Okay. So I had posted pictures of these two pieces that I had prepped. I said I was prepping the other day. So this one, this is done on clear, and then I backed it with a mint colored piece of glass. And I made it slightly larger than the clear piece so that I had a frame around the edge. Okay, am I stalled? Okay, there we go. All right, I just want to make sure. So this was unclear. This one you can tell because you have the edge. I did it on white glass, the pour, and then I backed it with a blue color. I use System 96 or 96 COE. I still can't get used to Oceanside. Anyway, so it depends on what you want. This one, you know, if you had some areas maybe that weren't covered well and you were on clear, whatever your backing glass is, that will help hide any of those kind of mistakes. I did not do it for that reason, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of the two different ways of doing it. Okay. And you don't have to leave a frame around the edge, but it is kind of a neat way to do this. Debbie Elmer does a lot of this, and I really like the look of it, so I started doing some of that in my work.
Okay.
All right, we have a
Yes.
question or?
A question.
Okay, we got a question.
Oh, there it is, Stacy Petrie. Are they food safe, or do pours need to be capped and clear?
Okay, are they food safe? The question is from Stacy, are they food safe or do they have to be capped with clear? I did not cap these at all. They are absolutely smooth as can be. And the enamels that I'm using are food safe. Now, the only ones, if you were to put one of the sparkles in your pieces, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so this particular piece, and I know there's some glare from the lights. Let me see if I can move that a little bit. Okay, so this particular one, I used silicone in my pour, and I did a dirty pour. So I got some of that crackly look and different cells because of torching. This has sparkle in it, so it really depends, Stacy, on how hot you go. The sparkle has texture, and I don't know if you can see the texture. Like this white sparkle had some texture, and I believe that was glitz that I splattered on there. But I did put copper in it, so our sparkles have a texture to them, so they would not be food safe, but everything else would be once it's fired. The only difference is when you do the enamel pour, you're using the layering mix. You don't have to, but if you do. So you know how your glass has a shiny finish? This has a little bit of a duller, I'm not saying it's dull because you can see it. It's nice and shiny. But if you wanted it real, real shiny, you cannot cap anything that you do with the layering mix. You cannot cap anything that you have the layering mix until you pre-fire that. Okay, so that's the biggest thing you can remember. So I pre-fired this. I full fused it at 1460, and it's recommended that you vent your kiln. I would vent it to like 800, okay, just because it needs to burn off these binders. Have I fired them without venting? Absolutely. I did these without venting because I forgot. So if you have any issue, just lift, if you've got a clamshell, lift it open, maybe a small 1/2 inch post, so that you let all that organic stuff burn out and it doesn't get trapped inside your kiln. But it's a nice finish. I have sifted over them because it can still breathe and get out and not had any problem, but it's best to go ahead and fire that and then come back if you want to cap it. Okay, so like I said, this one has texture on it, so this one would not be food safe, but this is more of a decorative bowl. You wouldn't serve soup in it, in other words, any kind of liquid that could get trapped into those textured areas. Okay, so I call this my earth piece. This is a dirty pour on this one. And then this one here, I made a really large rim for it. I just put it on clear, and I did put the gold sparkle in it, and I've got grays and blacks, and then I extended my rim so that I'd have a nice large rim on that versus something that's smaller, like on this one where I just had like a 1/16 of an inch larger than my base glass that I did my pour on. Okay, so that's kind of a cool one. It's a very it's very rich looking. It's man, kind of got that men type look to it. Something that a man would purchase if you have people that, the guys, not just the girls. Okay. All right. So let's get started with some of the basics. Any questions, Bert, before we go on? Okay. All right. So, and I do have a couple. All right. We got a question. Are the colors opaque? They pretty much are, unless you really, really, really thin them down. Okay, so the question was, are the colors opaque? And Bert has posted the link to those kits. If there's a color or something in those kits that you don't like, just message me a note when you purchase, and we can swap out colors if you want to do something like that. Okay? All right, so I've cleaned my glass with distilled vinegar. That's our preference for when doing it with our enamels, okay? White distilled vinegar. So everything's been cleaned with that. And then what I like to do, and this is just a cheap like foil type tray that you can get at the dollar store. You can get them on um, Amazon. That's what I was trying to say. Different places, okay? So then what you need to do is create, what I'd like to do is keep mine up above the piece, okay? So that I can grab a hold of it and I can tilt and everything, okay? So that's going to be your setup. So what we need to do is mix our colors first. And I did not pre-mix anything because I wanted to do this all with you so that you could see it from the beginning. So you would need cups. I never go more than 5 colors at a time, okay? Because if you get more than that, you're going to start getting muddy with your design. Yeah, I think it's just a design thing. I wouldn't recommend any more than 4, or excuse me, 5. You will need some teaspoons or some type of measuring tool so that you can have a good idea. If you keep it, it's like a recipe, okay? Write down what you've done so that you've got all that information. All right, making sure I'm on camera here. All right, so I'm going to start with white. I'm going to do one similar to that black and gray. So just try to do like fairly level teaspoons. So I'm going to do a larger piece. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of white. And you know, you don't have to be exact. You can be, but you don't have to be. All right, so this is 302 Ultra White. And then I'm going to add, I recommend 50-50. So 2 teaspoons of your layering mix. 1, 2. I think I got an extra little drop there. Put that aside. And then you want to mix that up. So I've got one of our tools. Anything that you like to mix with. Just make sure you push it against the side and really get that mixed up well. And I did shake my layering mix before I started because it does tend to separate in the jar or the bottle. And then just let me know, Bert, if anybody has any questions. Okay. All right. So I also put about a half a teaspoon of water in there, and I'm just going to kind of give it a good squirt and mix that up. And the water is more for the cells when we're doing the torch work. Okay. And then we'll do 303. And like I said, I did not get any of these ready because I wanted you guys. Let's do 2 of that one also, the lighter color. And you could use, you know, your measuring spoons if you wanted. I'm pretty much just do it like it is and go. You can't hardly mess it up. Other than, you know, when you ask if it was opaque, if you get it too thin, yeah, it could be more translucent. But that's the reason I like to put it on white a lot of times, is because then I don't have to worry about that. But if you were doing just clear on clear or possibly working with float glass, then you may not want to thin it down quite as much. You got to have it thin enough that it's going to flow on it, on the glass for you. Now this is the same measurement and this color seems thicker. So each color has different properties made up of different minerals. And so it may make it thicker or thinner. All right, so we're going to add a half a teaspoon of water. Mix that in. Wipe off your tools. All right, let's do, did I just do 304 or 303? I think I did 304. All right, we'll get this one going. This is 304, and this is graphite. You like my measurements? I'm just kind of, I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. And I've got an 8-inch round. So this one is 304. I used 303 vellum before that. And the other one was 302 glacier white. And again, I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of the layering mix. We have a question.
Yeah, what is the purpose of the layering mix?
The layering mix helps with making the cells. It also allows a pour to harden, and you're able to do work on top of it. If you don't use layer, we'll do one without it, okay? So if you don't have it, you don't have to have it. You just may not want a torch because I don't think you're going to get any kind of cells from it. So that's the main thing. It's just so that it gets harder. And I'm going to show you how you can carve through it after it's dry. I've got a piece that's dry. And then you can do decorating on top. I have another face. I don't think I did it as a live. Yeah, I might have. Anyway, it's a YouTube that's out there, and it is painting and stenciling on top of a pour. So check that one out. That's kind of fun to do also, because when it's dry and hard, you can come in and do brushwork on top of it. Yes.
What is the shelf life of the layering mix?
Okay, so who's saying that?
That is from Linda Thurkles.
Okay, so Linda, on the shelf life, meaning the shelf life in the bottle or the shelf life of the mixed color? I need to know. Well, the shelf life of the bottle is, there really isn't. I mean, I suppose maybe in 5 years you might have a problem, but there shouldn't be any. When you mix up your pours, and I've got some little containers here that I can keep it in. I could have mixed them in here. But what happens is the layering mix hardens in 24 hours. So what do you think is going to happen with that jar? It is going to harden, and it's not really reconstitutable. Now, I can tell you, I found one just a little bit ago. This is 343, and it does have a little bit of a wetness to it in there. And let me just, so it's hard, but it is still. So it kind of depends on your container, Linda. Also, whether or not it's a really, really tight, these are just some I had samples from some company. So anyway, I don't recommend you just leaving them in the pods or in these cups with lids. Yeah, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't stay. So make sure it's something that's sealed, and I would say probably a week. Don't try to keep it more than that. Although I can tell you that that other one, and now I'm mixing up black 301. That other one has been in there quite a while. And if you live in California, Florida, Texas, where the heat is, you know, that's going to make a difference. If it's in a room that is, again, that's 301 cobalt black, where there's room, the temperature in the room is controlled, is what I'm trying to say. If it's sitting in your car or out in the heat exposed, that's going to make a difference on the life of it also. It's going to dry it out quicker. Question?
Well, you gotta rub it for a second, but I think
You think we got it?
yeah.
Okay, so Linda, if I answered your question, just type in there, yes, you did, or something, so that I know. I would use it within a couple of days if you're going to use it after you've mixed, because it does. It just hardens. It's not something I'd recommend. Okay, so I just added a little bit more water to it. The water, because what happens is when we torch it, the torch is going to dry the colors, okay? And I want to get this bowl back up here. So this is the colors that I'm going for. And I'll mix up some of the gold sparkle in there so you can see that, okay? And then that'll be the last one. All right. Did she answer if we answered her? Okay. So I've done, like I said, different. This is just a straight pour as opposed to a dirty pour. And what that means is a dirty pour is one that you mix up your colors and then you put them all in a particular way into one cup. And then you take the cup, lay the glass on it, flip it over, and you let it drain out. And I have one out there that's a dirty pour already, that earth one. Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad I answered that. All right. All right, so it doesn't take long to get that done up. Let me put those in the water. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, I think I've said this before, but I wanted to say it again. So your stickers that are on your glass, or even if where you bought it, they put magic marker with the name or the number of the glass. These are those Mr. Clean sponges. This is actually the knockoff of it from Amazon. You get a ton of them in a package. They take off stickers like you would not believe. It's just wonderful. You just dampen it and rub it on that area and the sticker is gone. So keep that in mind. All right, so what I'm going to do is line these up in color order from light to dark and put this back in the middle. And that's how I'm going to start it.
Question
okay, we have a question before I start.
Question from Carmen Sparks. What is the gold color?
Oh, I'm sorry, Carmen. That is GS 503 Gold Sparkle. We have 5 different sparkles available on silver, gold, white, and copper. Four of them. Okay, so I'm going to just start a little bit of the white in the middle, and then I'm just going to kind of go around and add some here and there. So you can see that it's not a particular pattern, and everybody has their theories. You can come on top of a color, or you can, you can create your own. Question?
Yeah. Can you use mica for sparkle?
I've never used mica. The sparkles are a mica base, so I would think you could. I would tell you that it probably wouldn't be food safe, would be my guess. So see how I'm just kind of adding? And I'm keeping it away from the edge because I'm going to tilt and move this, okay? All right, let's add some gold. And if you wanted to make a flower, you could create, dots of color. So this is very similar to the acrylic pours. It's just done with a fired product. All right, so now I'm going to pick it up by the edge, and I'm going to start moving it around to kind of get those to run together. And be slow about it, because if you watch this, it's going to that edge, okay? It's going to my right. And then I don't want to lose a whole bunch. The other thing that sometimes I will do, just before I get to going too far, what did I do with that? There we go. Sometimes I have another little piece underneath in case I spill. I can drop it on that. Yes, question?
Yeah, what was the name of the sponge?
If you just type in Mr. Clean, and they want to know what the name of the sponge is. If you just type in Mr. Clean in the Amazon, you'll see the knockoffs. I don't know what it's. I'm not sure if it really has a name. I just put in Mr. Clean and I found it one time. I think there's like 20, 30 in a package, and it's like dirt cheap, like $10 or something. So it's definitely much better than trying to pay, whatever it is for the. Okay, so if I get to an edge and it won't go over there, look how I can tap my finger just into the color and that pulls it towards that edge. Okay. All right. So I'm going to center that back on my container, and I've caught some of this on another piece, which I can use. If I hadn't put the paper towel under it and it went into the tinfoil pan, I can just pick it up and add it to another piece also. All right, now the other thing that I want to do is, I found this. You can take a straw and you can move things around. Look how much that gold is taking over. It is amazing how it kind of overwhelms. I'm thinking I want a little more black. So I'm going to add a couple of dots of black on here. Now, I found this tool. This is so cool. Where did I put the package? Here it is. Hold on a second. They use it for alcohol inks. I was watching something the other day. It's an air blower. So if you don't like to blow on a straw, and I'll lay that there so you can see that. You can take this. It's just, you just push on it. And look, you can just make that go however you want. And you can and it's much easier than blowing on a straw, because, you can almost get hyperventilated when you do that. So this is much easier to do.
also inhale.
Okay. Do what?
And you can also inhale.
Inhale. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to suck the color in. My husband said you might inhale it if you're with the straw. But if all you've got is a straw, it's that's what I started with. Okay, guys. So you can do that. So see, you can just move it around, and you can blow it off. You know, if you wanted it to. There's so many things you can do. So your imagination, once again, is your limitation of what you want to do. So once you get it like you like it, then just stop, set it aside to dry. And then you want to make sure that you clean your edges, all the edges. Okay. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take my finger and go underneath just to get any of that off of the back. You got to remember you're going to have to clean your back off also. Okay. Because that creates another layer. It'll create air bubbles between your two pieces of glass. Okay. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't get anything to set this on. Okay.
Merlino, so you don't need to pour off the excess?
Mine's pretty thin. If you wanted to, I guess you could. So the question was, do you need to pour off the excess? Actually, Donna, when I'm looking at it from the side, which obviously I can't show you from the side, it is not as thick as when you would actually puddle and push an enamel on there. Do you see this area over here? What I think this is more water than anything. And I'm just going to grab some of that with the paper towel just because it's bothering me. It's like all my water settled and this tray is not level. So it's kind of leaning a little bit, but that way you can see more of the color. Okay. So no, you don't have to pour off the excess. Now on the acrylic pours, because you're on so thick, you have to do that on some of it. Yes, we have a question.
What's the name of the tool?
What's the name of the tool? Okay, let me get the package again. It is, believe it or not, called an alcohol ink air blower. This is by Ranger, R-A-N-G-E-R. I just Googled it when I saw that being used with the alcohol inks the other day, and I thought, man, that saves me from blowing a straw. That just is perfect for me. So you just have to, it's pretty heavy duty and strong. So just be careful, you know, because it does blow quite a bit of air when you're doing it. Okay, but I thought that was kind of cool. All right. So yeah, you won't inhale and end up getting it all over you for sure. Okay, so let me set this aside. Everybody can still hear me good, I guess? Yes?
A couple have said they had to unmute themselves when they first came in.
Unmute themselves. That's weird because it's not, that's a Zoom thing. I'm surprised to hear that. But okay. Everybody else can hear me, I assume? Jenny, Kim, Robin. All right, I'm just moving that out of the way. Okay, so a lot of times, and actually Margie Adams from Houston came up with this. She took all of her little drips that were on the pans and popped them off and then laid them on a piece of glass and then just fused them, and they look like spots of color, which was kind of cool. So you could come in here and, you know, do another with some of your leftovers. Let's add some black.
They can hear me.
They can hear me okay? All right, awesome. Now, if you get a spot when you're doing this like this where you just can't get it to close no matter which way and it's going to run, just take your finger and just dab it a little bit, and that will fill that gap in. And then you can go to your edge and just slowly. And then if you just touch that edge, do you see how that fills that in? So you can just do it with your finger. So that's kind of a neat little trick that you may not know about. And I've got other pour videos out, but I thought this was a good subject to go over tonight. So hopefully you enjoy it and maybe can use it. So pick out your favorite colors. But you can do these as part sheets. and put them in the middle of other designs. So if you're going to do that, like I said, I'm on 96. So I would just go to the 1380, which matures the enamels. And that way it should not distort or change the shape of your piece. Or what I have done also is I will take, and if I know I want a 4-inch square, I add a 1/2 inch to it so that it's bigger. And if it does draw in, I can cut that off. Isn't that pretty? Can you guys see that? With the gold sparkle in there. Isn't that nifty? So I will just probably fire that one by itself and then come back and cut it up and maybe put it on a piece of black and make some jewelry out of it. It'd be really nice. All right, so you can mix. So I've still got a lot left here, but I want to do a different one, different colors. So let me set this aside. Question part?
How many teaspoons in each container of powder?
Oh my goodness, you guys. You know, this one was full. So there's an ounce in here. I don't know how many, of course it's powder versus liquid. So you've probably got 10 maybe teaspoons in there. So the colors come in 1 ounce. They come in a 2-ounce jar, and they also do come in a 4-ounce jar. This is not glass color, but it's the same size jar. Okay, and then we do sell pints. So a lot of people will buy a pint of white, and then other colors that they're doing. Okay, that's why I put a 4-ounce of white in those kits for you, because that's just one of the colors. It's a staple, so to speak, that you would use a lot of. Okay, so to do. Okay.
To know what is the hold time at 1380?
Donna asked, what is the hold time at 1380? 10 minutes is good enough, Donna. You're basically still venture kiln because you've got the layering mix. And all you're doing is trying to, the colors, if they still look chalky, then you know that your kiln is firing cold, okay? Because at 1380, they should be nice and glossy, just like you see here. So I'm going to basically duplicate, well, I'm not sure I can duplicate the pattern, but I'm going to duplicate the colors on this particular one, okay? So I've got my green or my mint glass for the background, and then got my clear. And like I said, you could even go on white and then put that on top of a colored piece, or just put a piece of clear behind it, okay?
Did you use equal parts of enamel and layering mix?
I did, and I'm going to mix up another group here and show you that, okay? So give me 2 seconds. I got to move these cups since I've still got stuff in them. All right, so let's just do 4 colors with this one. All right. So we're going to do, we'll need the white again. And I've got a little bit in there, so I'm going to add just a teaspoon to that. And let me get my spoons because I put them in the water. All right. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of white. And evidently that spoon was not dry. You know, you think you got enough paper towels out and you end up using them all. Okay, then we're going to use, I use 1 spoon for my dry powders and 1 spoon for my wet. You know, I'll do this one with this. Okay. So you can use either the layering mix or the GM300 glass medium. The layering mix just allows you to harden the colors if I want to come back, and it also helps with the torching, okay? Because as the torch burns that off, it starts to create little cells. So equal parts enamel to the layering mix, and then I like to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of water. Now I already had some water in there, so I'm just going to give it a little squirt. I'm not going to worry about measuring that out. Okay, so this one I used 43 Sapphire Blue 343. Sorry, I tend to use single numbers. Just my thing. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 1/2 of this one. So hopefully this helps you seeing it mixed. I think in some of the other videos, I may have actually had things already mixed up. So I was hoping this might help explain it a little more. You can also put down, I'm going to show you some other samples in a minute as soon as I do this pour. You can put down a base and use your color concentrates to do brush work on top. So if you like to do brush strokes, perfect. You could stencil on top of it. After it's dried, 24 hours, it's pretty much hard as a brick. So remember, it's called layering mix, keyword layering. Once you put it down and you let it set and dry, you can layer on top of it and layer on top of it. So you can mix up enamels with the layering mix and do solid areas, and it would stay. It's not going to move, because if you use your GM300 and enamels, what happens when you touch it with some other color? It starts to get soft and it loosens and it lifts. So that is a good way to be able to do different work on top. Okay, so let's grab the 55, the mint julep. It's one of my favorite colors. And we'll do 1.5 teaspoons of that one. Any other questions, Bert? Not any? Okay. Now, Debbie Elmer, when she was doing a lot of her pours, what she would do is she would mix with the GM300, the regular medium, okay? And then she would add layering mix to that, equal parts. And it gives you a really, really fluid look. So you'd have to work out how much you would need, and you know, because otherwise you'd end up with a whole bunch. So in other words, if I mixed this like I did now, then she would come in here. So she would have mixed it with the GM300 equal parts. And then after that's mixed, she would add the same amount of the layering mix to it. So just play with it and see what works best for you. There's just so many different things that you can do. The other one is the 61. And what did I do with the 61? There it is, hidden. All right, one more. I think we're good. And I'm going to do same thing, about 1 1/2 of this one.
What size is your glass circle?
The circle I did was a 10-inch. And I mixed 2 teaspoons of each color up, and I ended up having some left over. So you could probably do it with 1.5 teaspoons, I would say. And like I said before, if you missed it, I like to do no more than 5 colors, because it tends to get muddy. And then you just can't find the colors. You know, they mix together, and you get brown, you know, if you get too. You know what? We could do this one as a dirty pour, just to see the difference from the one I did prepping for the live question.
Question time. Dan wants to know, will you be torching this pour?
Oh yeah, shoot, I forgot. Dan, thanks. Holy moly, I talked about torching and I didn't torch the other one. So let me go back. I think we can still do that. Holy cow, I forgot.
And
All right.
Paula wants to know,
yes,
if I do a stencil on top of 24-hour-old pour,
right?
am I using the layering mix for medium again with the stencil?
Okay, so the question was, if after 24 hours you let it dry, and let's say you wanted to stencil something on this that would be black, maybe, to make it very elegant and rich, then I would personally use the color concentrates, okay? Or I guess you could sift the stencil on there, but I think I would use color concentrates. And I have a video out there showing you how to do that. And yeah, I use the rollers. It's kind of like what I did the other week on the stencils. I would do that way. Okay, so if you, oh, wait a minute, we still got another question.
Yeah. Says no water in these.
Yes, I put a half a teaspoon of water. So I used equal parts layering mix to enamel powder, and then I added about a half a teaspoon of water. I just kind of squirted some in. So I'm trying to, we're going to torch this piece. I'm trying to get it centered. Okay, so let me turn this on. And it may have, do what? I need to move. Well, I will be moving my hand as I'm moving around. So this may already be dried too much to torch it. I may have to do it on the next one. I know it's not centered because I can't center it because of where the camera is. So we're just going to have to go with what we got here. Okay. So what I'm doing is going in a circular motion. And you'll see that as I get underneath the camera a little bit. You can kind of see it. I turned up the flame some. So it starts to pull the water out of the pour and starts to dry it, evaporate it. Tongue-tied. Okay, see how it's kind of causing that gold to kind of move around? And this just kind of, it helps dry. It creates what we call little cells. And it depends on which way you move it is how that color is going to move. I prefer the circular motion. And then I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see it as soon as I get done. It takes a minute to just get it. It kind of pulls it from the top and exposes some of the color that's underneath. Because remember, I put some color on top of the others. Okay, there's a lot of water over there. So somebody asked earlier, should you pour off the excess? If you do, you're going to lose a lot of your color and your design. But that's totally up to you, and it's going to thin it out. Okay, so it's not going to be as opaque as you were asking. So if I were to put this when it's completely dry and turn it sideways, it would just have a thin layer of enamels on it. Okay, because it is so thin with liquid, the liquid's going to burn off and evaporate some in the kiln also. Okay, I'm going to stop on that. Remember I said that that is hot, so don't lay it down on something that is going to catch on fire. Put it somewhere.
If you get too close to the paint, will you burn it?
Yes, if you get too close, the question was if you get too close to the paint, will it burn it? Absolutely. Let me see which way I'm going. Okay, this way. So you can kind of see the colors there a little closer. Yes, you can scorch, I never can say that, scorch the color and it will turn black and it will look like you've burned it. Okay, so you would have to take a toothpick and lift that off. Okay, and then just touch up the area maybe with a little bit of one color or the other. Now be careful because the bottom of this can be warm also because you've just heated it. It's not too bad right now. Let me set it aside. All right, so let's do that other one real quick.
Can you use a MAP gas torch instead?
Can you use a MAP gas torch instead? If you can control that flame, yes. I've never used one. Well, I've used one once. But yeah, as long as you've got it turned down. The disadvantage to that is it's large to hold on to. So it's not as easy to do your circles, would be my first thought if I were going to try that. Okay, so let's do this one. And since somebody mentioned dirty pour, let's try it. Now, I did not do that on mine. So I've got some of these colors mixed up. So I just poured the colors down just like I did the last one and moved them around, and then I torched it. So I'm going to use a clean cup. I'm going to put quite a bit of, I'm going to put all of that white. We had some white left over, and I added a teaspoon also. Now, when you add your colors, you add it, you can go right in, but I like to go down the side a little bit. And you can come over here and add Can you see that okay, Bert?
Yeah, well, I see a,
Cup?
yes, I see
Okay.
you pouring something.
Okay. So whether or not, so I'm just going down the sides and I'm not looking in there because I'm trying to keep this in camera view. Okay. So if you wanted to go on top of that blue, and then maybe we want just a little in the middle. Okay, so you kind of see how that, let me turn that light back on there. I think you can kind of see that. We've got a little bit of a glare. Okay, so now what happens is you put your glass on top of it, and I'm going to quickly turn it over. I'm going to give it just a second for everything to run down. I should have used a clear cup. And then hold on to your glass because there could be a section, and let it come out. Oh, and don't drop it in it.
Okay.
So,
Paula says, do you clean the edges?
yeah, I'm going to show you all that in a minute, Pamela. She asked if you clean the edges. Yes, you do have to clean the edge. So this is how I did the one that looked like the earth, I call it. And so it already mixes the colors for you. And this is where definitely no more than 5 colors, guys. Because if you get more than that, you're going to get mud, okay? You know, when you start mixing colors, look at your color wheel, what's going to happen. So if you get too much on there, that will make mud. Okay, so did you see what I did? I, again, kind of just touch my finger there. It causes the color to grab over on that edge and close in those little holes. All right, now let's go this direction. And down to that corner. So now on this one, I do have quite a bit on here. So whoever it was that said, do you pour off the excess? On this particular one, I could, and I'm looking for another piece of glass to pour onto. I don't have anything small, naturally. So you could put another piece underneath it, and you can torch this one also if you wanted to. We can do that. I stand up to torch so that I'm directly above it, and it makes it easier for me. Now, this one, look at those cells. I hope you guys can see that. So the dirty one tends to give you more cells than the other. As it pulls, can you see all those little dots is what I call cells. Do you see all that happening? The white, the water, and the dirty pour makes better cells. Also silicone, like treadmill silicone, you can add it, and I couldn't find mine. You can add 1 to 2 drops into your mix, and that is another agent to make cells with. They do that in the acrylic world. Can you see that? Isn't that cool? Let me close this so it doesn't accidentally turn on. Let me lift that up to the camera so that you can see all of those beautiful cells, I'm calling them. Can you see all those little cells or dots of color, circles? Some of them are ovals. There's all different directions. Pretty cool. Okay. Now, sometimes I will dry with a fan. So as long as you get it dry, that's what you're looking for. Hold on one second. I'm moving stuff around. Okay. Actually, I'm going to just set this to the side over here. Remember that the back of your glass could feel warm because you just torched this with, heat. So be careful about setting it down. So you can see that the cup is pretty clean. I still have quite a bit left in my colors. This is only like a 6x6 tile. So I would say if you're doing 6x6 part sheets or little dishes, maybe a teaspoon versus a teaspoon and a half if you're going to do something like this. You always use more white than anything, as you saw. That's like your carrier, and then you're adding your different colors to it. This is one of my favorite combinations with the mint julep, the sapphire. You can add the green. One of the other colors in one of those kits is the 34, which is tea rose, and it's absolutely beautiful to throw in there also. Let me show you. I'm going to go to a couple of pieces that I did. Here's one that, and I have stuff all over me because I'm working here. This is red piece of glass, okay? And I used it underneath to catch my drips the other night on some I was doing. And so I started carving on it. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how to clean your edges. So you would let this completely dry. Okay, so here is one that I did. This one has some of the natural tone ones. It's got ivory, it's got nutmeg, it's got burnt sienna and flesh tone and burnt umber in it, and copper sparkle. So there's a lot. And the copper kind of takes over, but it won't be as strong whenever it's fired. Okay, so on the edges, make sure you can see this. You can see that I have, let me put down a towel so that it's easier to see. I think the glare on that. So there are spots on the back, okay, because that's where my drips, it ran over, and there's stuff on the edge. Now I want to show you that magic eraser. This is the Mr. Clean, the knockoff one. Get water on it, get it wet, okay? So I've dampened it. Now watch this. I mean, yes, these are thicker, but you can also take your tool and scrape them off if you want. But even though that layering mix has been dry on there, this is 2 days ago that I did it. And do you see? I mean, it's cleaning it off. Now I would go back and clean the back of my glass also with my vinegar. So if you had a bunch of these larger spots, you can go in and take off. You see how hard that is? And scrape them off.
If you have too much on when it dries, will the enamels crack?
Will the enamels crack if you have it on too heavy? You know, you really have to put it on super heavy. If you keep to the 2 teaspoon rule of thumb, and then, you know, because if you're pouring it on and you see you don't have enough, you can quickly mix up some more. So if you keep to that, you should be good as far as, see how hard that is? I'm really having to work to get to it. All right, so I just wanted to show you. No, the sponge is wet. I dampened it with water, and now I'm just rubbing it back and forth. I'm going to actually clean it and get more water on it.
Is the sparkle food safe?
The sparkle is not food safe because it does have texture. Now, the hotter you fire the sparkles, they don't have the texture. They just have the sparkle. And once you have fired them at least to 1380, you can cap them by just sifting or capping with another piece of glass. But it does dull the sparkles a little bit. So, but don't do it on the first fire because, boy, it'll just take it away. Copper stays pretty good in between, but the others tend to mute out. And Shelley Long, which is on here, I believe, tonight, if she's still on. She's answering. Thanks, Shell. Missing you the last few times. Shelley came up with the idea and tested, and she's the one that learned if you fire those sparkles first and then come back and cap them, they will hold their color better. Okay? So you see I'm just taking that sponge. It does, of course, the glass is going to cut the sponge. Hopefully I'm still in view. But I'm just rubbing that across there, and it's cleaning. See, it's eating it up. You could use a razor blade. Absolutely. Somebody else, you can use a razor blade. Yeah. I just like this because I tend to cut myself. So this is one way to, and sometimes I used to take a paper towel and I'd rub it along here, and I ended up, cutting myself. So I like doing this sponge. And then you would clean the back of your glass with your distilled vinegar also. Okay, so you can see what it looked like on the back side. So you can see the spots of color, and then I strung it across, and then I moved it around, and then I torched it a little bit. So if you get it you'd have to get it really, really heavy to crack. Just if you're leaving it fluid and you're moving it around and it levels out, if you see where something is thicker and it's not moving, then yes, it can be too thick. But as long as it moves freely, I mean, it's really nice. So that's one way to clean your edges, okay? Look at this again, guys. I want to hold that up to the camera. Is that just awesome or what? Don't you love all those cells? So that is the dirty pour. Okay. And I knocked a piece of my sponge, I think, in there. Okay. You can take a tool and move around. Like I said, your imagination is your limitation as far as doing this. I mean, you can use up bits and pieces of, if you've got some enamel mixed up and you just want to use it. So here's another one that I had underneath when I poured this larger 6x6, and I just let it fall on here. So you can leave it organic around the edge. Blow it with the little blower tool or a straw, and then you can come back and you can carve through this. So what I started doing earlier on this red little piece that I had for jewelry, this is like a 1x2, is I took one of my tools, and I know I'm going to knock this off, so I'm going to move it over here before I do, because I really like the way that looks. I don't want to mess it up. So this is what's called a Kemper tool. It's a WS, meaning wire stylus. Okay, and let me put it against, I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. Okay, so it's like a loop. This is nice to carve with. You do have to do, you have to use a lot of pressure. So what I did earlier was I just came in here and found me a line on the pour, and then I just started scraping out, okay, and removing it. So that red is going to come through whenever it's fired. You can also use, we've got the tools, the little, dotting tools in the different sizes. You can take some of the dotting tool and you could carve with that too. It's actually a little stronger, so you can move it around and carve. So let me hold that up to the camera so you can kind of see. I can't tell if it's blurry or not. I'm trying to hold it still so it can focus. It may be a little blurry. There's other tools out there. This is one that's like a clay lift kind of a tool. Same difference. They're just going to make wider lines when you do it. You can take a toothpick. If you don't have a fancy tool, just take a toothpick and start carving away. Okay, see, I can even do it with that toothpick. So you could carve somebody's initials in. Like I said, follow your design and create it, and then it's going to kind of open up a little bit when it full fuses and widen that line a little bit. It's not that the color or the pour is going to move. It's just as the glass spreads, in your full fuse and heats up, it could get slightly larger, maybe half again as what it is. But make yourself some part sheets, cut them up, make jewelry, because you could take and set this on top of a black piece, use that framing, add a little bit of extra around it, and it makes a beautiful piece. And your jewelry doesn't have to be food safe. So great for little trinket dishes. Let me get another sample. I was going to show you. You guys are looking at that. I think it was 2 weeks ago when I did the glass, we did the layering mix with the enamels, and we did the brush strokes on the fired ceramic piece. This is actually glass, and it's black, so it's going to be hard to see it. So this is that same design with the layering mix and the enamel, 50-50, and I brush stroked on top of this black glass, and I did put 2 coats because I wanted it didn't show up. No, actually, you know what? I only did 1 coat because I thought to myself I should have done 2, and it would have showed up even better. But you can kind of see that it's kind of cool, and it's outlined with gold sparkle. So you could do brushwork with that same 50-50. So any of this I've got mixed up, I could actually do brush strokes with that. Okay, wanted to show you that one.
Can you stamp on this after it dries?
Can you stamp on it? It really depends on how, yes, you can, how level your glass is, whether or not you got it nice and smooth. Okay, so that makes a huge difference. Let me show you another pour. Somebody earlier asked, let me clear this question.
Is the first firing a full fuse? So after the initial piece is dry, do you do a full fuse first?
It really did. So the question is the initial firing a full fuse? Not necessarily. It depends on, so like these little pieces, if I'm going to use those as part sheets, I'm going to just fire this to 1380 with a 10-minute hold. You can go 350, 450 an hour, depending on the size of your piece. Larger pieces, slow it down. Hold it there for 10 minutes. That matures the color, and then you can put this on top of something or add it to something. This was enamel pour that I actually fired, full fused it. So I did it on, I think I had 2 pieces of white, actually. So I did all the background. And when I did it, I purposely put spots and I kind of blew it with a straw to create my flower shape. I had something in mind, what I wanted to do. And I made more greens where the leaves are. Fired that, full fused that. Then I came back with the quill pen and our color concentrates, and I added all the Zentangle, okay, for more of the ink technique. You could do that with the silkscreen black and the quill pen. You can do it just with the dotting tools and pick it up and fill it in. So that was on one of those other videos that you can go back and watch. That was, what, a month ago or so we did stamping. Can you stamp on top of the port? Depends on how level it is. Try it and see. I personally think I did it one time, okay, and I do not have the sample to show you. But what I did was I used the mix that we had, the enamel and layering mix, and I used a little pouncer sponge, and I loaded it, and then I loaded my stamp and then stamped it because I knew with the layering mix and the enamel it would adhere to that. But you could stamp with color concentrates also. Okay, so that's just another method that you can use. I wanted to go back and show you somebody during the ceramic one on one of the Tuesday nights. I did this butterfly on Bisque. And who has that? Michael Nagy, right? Was it Nagy? Is that how it's? He won that one. This is the same silk screen done on glass with enamels and using bubble art. So I just thought I'd show you that when I found it when I was looking through samples. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I silk screened the black and then went back in and flooded the greens on top. The yellows and the reds are underneath because you can see the black lines. And the bubble art is on the back side. And then all I did was use another piece of clear because my bubble art needed to mature, and it only makes bubbles between glass. So there's just another sheet of glass on the back to create those bubbles, and silver sparkle around the edge. Question? No?
Someone would want to know where to get your previous videos.
Did Shelly? Are you doing it? Okay, so somebody's asking, how do you get the other previous videos that I've done? You can just go to my personal page and go over to the video section, and you can scroll back through that. I am trying to get them all up on YouTube so they're easier to find. I just posted quite a few of the ones using color concentrates on my page earlier for someone that asked that question. There's like 4 or 5 that I put on there in the comments, so you might look through that and see if that answers some of them. Okay, here is one that I did a pour. Okay, this is one of my prides. This was a ceramic piece that I did. I used the pattern, I should say, years ago in my ceramic designs. This is color concentrates, but do you see I used a transparent green glass? Let me turn this over. I hope you can see that. I think you can if I lift it. So the pour is very organic. It was just white enamel and layering mix, okay, which is what this background is behind the birds. Let it dry 24 hours. Then I came in with all color concentrates, okay, all your color concentrates, your CCs, your CC enhancers, and this design minus these 2 pieces of glass that Debbie cut for me, cut some of my leaves out for me, and then I made them, I put firing paper that was pre-fired, little blobs underneath there, and it made them raised. So these are enamels, but all of this design is color concentrates on top of a dried pour. Okay, I used my Sumi brushes to do my shading just like I do on my ceramics. Use the stubby brush to create the feathers. And I don't have my zoom camera, so I'll come in closer to that camera so you can see that. So that's kind of a cool way. I did a watercolor background with the blues in there, and then did the brush strokes for the little blue flowers and the wings and different things. There was a little bit of a crackly look to it, and I think that's just as the full fused happens. It moved a little bit, as your glass warms up and softens, but I'm good with that. So that's another way to do it. And then once it's dry, you can stencil on top of it pretty much with any product. I like to use the color concentrates. And then I did not sift over this. I pre-fired it, made sure it was what I wanted. I added another sheet of the transparent green on the back, and then I did sift over it the next firing because I wanted this nice and smooth. And then I tack fused the leaves on to give them the textured look and erased. Okay. So hopefully that gives you some ideas.
Let's see.
Question?
Could you explain the butterfly how you have the image on the back?
Okay. So somebody's asking about the butterfly. How are we doing on time? Hour
and 15 minutes.
Okay, so someone is asking about the butterfly. So I silk screened my image on, which is the black lines. Okay. And then when it was dry, I flooded in the 361, 362 in between the lines. If I went over any of the lines, all I did was I come back with my CC 101 or DB 101 cobalt black and a liner and just touched up my lines. Okay. So the silver on the body, the silver around the edge, and the greens are on the top. I turned that single piece of glass over and I filled in my red areas solid with 310 vermilion. Then I used 322 and 324 and 5. So I've got actually, I don't know if you can see that, I've got 3 different yellows. I've got the really light, the golden, and then that caramely color. So 322, 324, and 325, if I remember correct. You could also go 318 if you wanted more oranges, and then 310 red and blend them. So I did what's called a 3-color blend on those. And then I flooded the bubble art. This is 5051 cerulean bubble art on the back of it. And I stayed away from my edge. And then all I did was I took another piece of glass and I put it on the back side because the bubble art needs a piece of glass. It needs to be between glass to create bubbles. Okay. The bubble arts are time and temperature creates larger bubbles. And I think I went into that on one of the other lives the other day. Okay. Let me think.
How long will your kits be on sale?
I'll leave them on sale for a week or so. Sometimes I forget to take them off sale. The color concentrates are still on sale. So if you haven't picked any of those up, I think they're still on sale. I'm pretty sure they are. Okay, someone was asking, can you silk screen? This was a dirty pour. I think you can see that. There we go. I'm trying to get it where it doesn't have the glare on it. Which I really didn't like because the colors muddled too much together for me. I think this was one of the first ones. So I was like, okay, I don't want to waste this 12-inch round. I did it on white. You can see a little bit of the white edge of the glass. And then again, I cut my blue piece of glass larger. So it created a frame. Full fused that pour. Then I came back and I silk screened, and I believe we still have some of this silk screen out there on the website. Silk screened with copper sparkle. So I mixed my copper sparkle up, and I've got multiple videos on silk screening, so you can refer to those. Silk screened it, and then I went back in and I filled in some of those areas because I wanted to make sure that you could see the edges of the petals or some dots, so you can kind of see. And with the dirty pour, you get that crackly cell type look to it. And I was, somebody was asking about thin. I was a little thin. If you look at the blue here, I was running out of product. So like I said, I didn't like this. So I did the silk screening on it. And then I just took it back to, you can either go to 1380, or if you want to go back to your full fuse, you can do that too. Okay, so that is another way that you can accent on top. Or you could full fuse it and do your stamping on top. that works also. All right. And I don't remember, I think last week we showed, this is one of the ones we did a couple of weeks ago, the sifting, how it turned out. If you weren't here and didn't see that, then I had an electrical issue where my power went off. And this one, it's kind of cute, but it did get lopsided in the mold. It has a little character there. Okay. So this one is going to be a giveaway tonight. And so comment, and I forgot to say that at the beginning, we will do a spin and see who wins some things tonight. Okay. And now I need to know, do you guys want me to give away this funky wonky bowl? Anybody want to win that? What's your thoughts on it? Tell me.
So, can you go higher than 13? Where'd it go?
Uh-oh.
So you can go higher than 1380 and the pour will be okay.
You can go higher than 1380 in the pour. That's just to set the color or to set the product. So the higher you go, the smoother the color is going to be if you full fuse. So if you're going to silk screen on top of a pour, then you need to, I would go back to a full fuse again. Yes, and it's not going to hurt it to fire it multiple times. So do they want me to give this bowl away?
Steven says bowl.
You want the wonky stenciled bowl?
Yes, of course. Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Funny bowl.
The funny bowl. We'll call it the funny bowl. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you another one. Now, this is a video that I have out there. It's similar to a pour. Okay. This is the balloon technique. And if you haven't watched this video, you need to go watch it. I give you side views. I could demo it on a live if you want that. And you guys need to type in there what you'd like to see demoed. If there's something you just haven't had a chance to try and you want to see it done, I'd be happy to do it on one. So this is done with the balloon. You put blobs of color similar to what I did on the pour, and then you take a balloon that's blown up and you smash it down and it creates that pattern. It's really, really cool. And kids can do it. I mean, oh my gosh, it's so easy and it makes a cool, look. So I just did this on white, backed it with a white, and there you go. It's a beautiful piece. It's a little candle dish. Okay. So let me know what you want to see. Okay, Bert, let's do a spin because I think I'm done. Does anybody have, do you sift on the copper? Marilyn Joy, I'm not sure what. So you could do, after you full fused your pour, you can come back and do whatever you want to it. So you could come on here and put a stencil down on the flat. Remember, your edges are going to be a little curved because you full fused it. But wherever it's flat, you could use a stencil and you could sift. But remember, you don't want to cover, I mean, you've got a beautiful look there. So why cover all that up? Okay, so I just was accenting either with a stamp or you've seen the edges with the silk screen. Okay, so that's just a way to do it. But like this one, I would not want to cover that all up. There's no way.
Did you already promise this bowl to somebody?
Did I promise this bowl? Which bowl? This
The
one?
funky bowl.
The funky one? No, I did not. No. Why? Who thinks I...
Vicky Young says this is the funky bowl mine from a couple of weeks ago.
No, Vicky, yours was one of the stamp pieces. It was already mailed out to your Florida address. That, if I remember correctly. You sound like Luann. Is Luann out there? I figured that was Luann asking, isn't that mine? Okay. Funny. All right. So let me do something real quick and see if I can go back to me. I'm not sure I can do this without making it. Hold on. I'm going to do... I don't want you guys to see my... All right. I think I'm got to move my camera now since I had it down. I didn't want you to see my background, my dirty space here, all my stuff. So hold on. Give it about 8 seconds and it will hopefully be on me at this point. Maybe I messed it up again. Who knows? Oh, there we go. You should be able to see me. I'm trying to look at both cameras and get it back on. Okay, I see myself appear there. Okay, yes to the bowl. All right, Stephen, me. I see that. Okay. All right, Bert. So do a spin. You got a piece of paper to write down names because
I don't.
I did not bring one back here, but I'll find something for you. You got something to write with, right? Here you go.
Yeah, I'll find something right
Here. That's as far as I can get it. All right. One of the things I also want to tell you, I had to cancel the one Saturday because of our power outage that we have. You guys, I had no water for 6 days. It was, I'm sorry to say it like this, but it was a week from hell. That's as easy as Kim can tell you. Everybody in Texas was struggling. So we were fortunate. At least we had power on and off. It did get cold, but we tried to stay in one room. And yeah, you guys saw my comments in my Facebook post. So anyway, um, every month, the third Saturday of the month, I do a Zoom meeting. You sign up for it on the website. And Jenny, if you are out there, can you go to the website and find the link for the March meeting? It's March the 20th. Uh-oh, that's my son's birthday, I think.
March 20th.
March 20th. Yes, is the next meeting. It's at 2:30 in the afternoon. Jenny helps me on that meeting. It's an open Zoom. You can register for it on the website, okay? And if Jenny doesn't find it or if she's not on here, I will link it and I'll put it on my Facebook page. You do need to sign up for it. You have to sign in to your account on the Colors for Earth website and then sign up for that Zoom meeting. And it is a Zoom. I see you, you see me. You can bring any questions, um, failures, successes, whatever you want to talk about, ceramics or glass. And for an hour, that's what I'll do is I'll answer your personal questions. If you have questions specifically, you can email me to my email that's listed here at the top, the info@colorsforearth.com, or some of you have ceramics by Paula at gmail.com. Either one, you can send me the questions ahead of time so that I can have the answers, make sure I know what you're asking, and then we can share with the group. Everybody learns. So if you'd like to attend that, it's a free meeting, and I'm doing them once a month on the third Saturday of the month. Okay, so those are out there. Any other questions? Yes to demo of the balloon. Okay, maybe we'll do that next time. Okay. So every week when I do these, I don't need more samples. So a lot of the things that I did tonight will be up for the next Facebook Live, the next glass one. I make sure I offer glass ones on the glass and ceramic ones on the ceramic. So every other week is glass, every other week is ceramic. So that way we cover. Some of them kind of cross over that you can do on both. And so I hit on those. Like I said, all these videos are out there on my Facebook page. Go to the YouTube, make sure you subscribe. You get hit the little bell so you get notifications when I upload some videos. I did videotape the ones that I showed you. I videotaped and the ones I fired. Okay, so all of these I videotaped my process, and I will attach it to this video and put it on YouTube later. Okay, so that you have all that information as I was going through. Okay, did you already pick a winner? Did you pick a winner? Hello, Bert. I can't see. I can't see, honey. I can't see because you're behind the pole. Sorry, guys. All right. So, what's the last name? Stewart? Oh, Miss Lori Stewart. Are you still on here, Lori Stewart? Lori used to be one of my roadies and traveled with me. Look, good girl. All right, you get the little stenciled rose and leaf dish. Okay, write that down so we don't forget who gets what. It gets hard to keep track of it. All right, guys, drum roll. Okay, so the March meeting is March the 20th. April is April 17th. And I think that's all of them that I have on there. I'll put the other ones, but you can register for any of those ahead of time. You do not have to wait until that month, and then it should send you a notification. Yes, do you have a question?
Yes, is that the Funky Bowl?
The Funky Bowl, we're calling it. Yes, the stenciled, funky, wonky. Who I need you to spin for a winner for this funky bowl. This was a 10-inch bowl originally, and now it's like an 8-inch. Okay, so we're spinning for that. Bert is. I need a drink. I've been talking so much.
Let's see here.
You guys are commenting so much. You can't get the spinner to work. Come on.
Well, I have to copy the names out.
Sorry, guys.
To do this.
You're welcome, Pamela. Thanks for joining. We try to have fun, try to bring you new things, and hopefully touch on things, that you wish you could ask, and you just can't. But on any of my videos that are on, any of them, the ones on Facebook, you can still comment and ask questions. You can go on the YouTube ones. I do allow comments on those, and I will answer you. Sometimes I don't get those notifications right away, but I do check those quite often. All right, you ready, Bert? Come on. We're going to have
Cindy Chen.
Cindy Chen. You are the winner of the Funky Bowl. That pretty much goes with all that crazy stuff you do, girl. That's awesome. Cindy has, guys, she does all this metal work and phenomenal stuff. She has done a lot with our enamels also. So Cindy Chen. So if Cindy and Lori, if you have any orders that you're going to be placing, I can ship it with an order. Let me know not to ship it right away. Otherwise, I will ship it out within a few days. Okay. And then let's go ahead and spin for one more, Bert, since I've got a bunch of samples. We're going to spin for, I got to shape this into a little bowl, but this is the blue, kind of the blue on the blue. It is the one behind me that's the rectangle piece, not the square. Okay, we're going to spin for that. I need to slump this into a dish. All right, who is the winner of that one? I'm looking over at him to...
Let's see.
Come on, we got to get him to speed up.
Oh, you don't know how to do this. So
Jackie Jordan, did you get your piece you won?
Sue Coughlin.
Sue Coughlin, Coglin.
Coghlan.
Oh, okay.
Sue, Sious.
Oh, Sue from California. Sue, she was one of my ceramic girls from California. Yeah, awesome. Okay, Sue. So let me know if you are going to order anything. If you're not, just message me through Facebook Messenger your address to ship it to. Okay, it'll probably be a week. I need to get a couple of things slumped and out. And Cindy Chen, you let me know if you're going to be ordering anytime soon. It's the rectangle blue pour. He's asking me what the piece is. Okay, guys, this has been fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And I guess we will try again next week and see if we have problems next week. We didn't have to disconnect but the one time. So anyway, take care, stay safe and warm. And if you're still without power or water, I feel for you. And we wish you well. Okay. And I know that the East Coast is getting dumped with snow again. Poor Ginger has got about 2.5, 3 feet of snow on the ground and still snowing. So be careful, you guys. It's crazy out there. Okay. All right. I will read all your comments and answer. And thank you for joining me. And I'll see you next Tuesday night for ceramics. And I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'll figure out something in the next day or so. Okay. All right. Take care. See you later.